But the UFC had a lot of stuff happen this week. It really, really had a lot of announcements, a lot of news. So let's dive into all of it. Locally, the biggest thing that was announced was Jorge Masvidal, Miami's own. He is going to be back in action coming up April 24th. He will be having his rematch against Kamaru Usman for the welterweight championship of the world. This is the fight that Kamaru Usman wanted. After beating Gilbert Burns, he said that he wanted. Jorge Masvidal, I've seen some people griping about, oh, Jorge doesn't deserve the title fight. He didn't do another fight. That's all well and good. The champ gets to fight who the champ wants to fight. I mean, they've done it for Israel Adesanya, where he wanted to fight Yoel Romero coming off of losses. So it's totally okay with me that Kamaru Usman wants to do the Jorge Masvidal fight again. And they have the easy storyline of full camp. It's a good beef. They finally have they'll have some proper time, not a lot of time, but a proper amount of time to promote the fight, to do the fight in the right way. They got about 6 weeks out from now until fight time. So interesting one. It's going to be taking place in Jacksonville. The big deal about this one is Jorge Masvidal, Kamaru Usman is going to be the first main event with a full packed arena. It is going to have a full capacity crowd available in Jacksonville in the arena there locally. And that's cool. I was a little upset when I first saw this, speaking, not to get greedy. I'm like a little fight pig. But I thought that, this was obvious. And even Kamaru talked about this, that this fight should take place down at the American Airlines Arena. And so did Masvidal's management team. It just seemed like that would have been the perfect way to go. I just don't know where, the people who run the American Airlines Arena and the Miami Heat, I don't know where they stand right now in having a full capacity crowd. I would venture to guess if they're not willing to do it with their fan base yet, their NBA fan base yet, and their concert fan base yet, they're just not quite ready to do it at the expense of the UFC. And the same goes for the BB&T Center, which had the last South Florida event. I'm dying for them to have an event down here. And look, if Jorge ends up winning the championship, I think it's obvious that you got to do a fight down here eventually, especially with, this place being more opened up. Hell, you could just have it down by the Clevelander on South Beach. It basically looks like a full arena down there. But, so I was a little bummed. I actually found out this news. I was at Disney this week with the family, and I was like, Jacksonville. But then I started thinking to myself, and I'm like, I think I'm going to go. I told my wife, I'm like, you know what? I haven't covered a UFC event in a long time. They don't come to Florida a ton. I didn't go for the last one, the pandemic. I don't even know if they had me at the last one. Maybe they did, but there's probably a monster amount of protocol you had to do. But, I've covered more fights now in the time. I've covered Heat games. I'm just more used to it now. So, and I think it'd be cool because they're doing things in person. It's not like you have to do things via Zoom. And so I told my wife, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go cover it. I think I'm going to go cover it. So, got a hotel room for that weekend and, applied for credentials. Should probably hear back on that soon unless I'm on the blacklist. I don't know. But I don't think that I am. And yeah, I think I want to go cover this. And check this out and get you guys some good fight content for that week. Because, one, you got two guys with South Florida ties in the main event. I think that's huge. And we have one that's 5 hours away. I'll take the little drive ski, Jacksonville. Go check it out. They'll be all crazy, willing to. Is that let me try to think. Is that NFL draft? Is I think the next week. So they'll be getting ready for Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. They'll be excited. It'll be popping over there. As far as the fight though is concerned, look. I people ask me do they think that the full camp is going to make a difference with Jorge Masvidal? I think it can, from the standpoint of I think you can get a little bit stronger. I think that maybe you can be a little bit at your peak. Now that he's been in there with Kamaru, can he know what's the proper way to go train to keep him off of him? I think all of that stuff is possible. He obviously has to keep this fight to play. He has to obviously keep this fight in the center of the octagon. You also wonder, will Kamaru be more willing to trade? Is he a guy that feels a little bit froggy fighting under Trevor Whitman, having his now patented switch stance jab, that his strong hand, his lead hand being in front, that he did damage with Gilbert Burns with and did damage with Colby Covington with? Will he actually try and do that with Jorge Masvidal? I would venture to guess no, because I would think that you would want the best path to go win your championship. And it feels like if you have a great grappling advantage over Jorge Masvidal, why would you go right into his wheelhouse and try and strike with him? George had very small pockets of being able to strike with Kamaru. It was mostly, Kamaru really trying to neutralize, take him down, and really wore him down as the fight went on. So, yeah, I do think that George can still beat Kamaru Usman. I definitely think that, first of all, if we see that finishing type of Jorge Masvidal, that guy who in 2019 just diced through every opponent that he was given, I think that guy can go and try and get a finish against Kamaru Usman. I think that's possible, especially now that you have a little bit more data behind you of what went down in that last fight. But, Kamaru's also feeling his peak. This is a guy that I think feels really, really good about himself, feels really good about his skill set. And he also now, I think, has now 5 rounds of Jorge Masvidal, and he has 5 rounds of winning. So it's a tough ask, I think, to ask Jorge to go and win a decision. I would have a hard time believing he could go win a decision, just because I feel like Kamaru always has that calling card that he could go back and just make it a boring fight and almost like take the air out of the football and go and get a decision. But if he does feel a little bit more froggy, if Jorge can lull him into a sense of security with the striking, almost be a counter striker more so than that aggressor that we've seen that got him to the top, where he's really dishing out the punishment early. If he could do something like that, then yeah, I think he could definitely catch Kamaru with something that hurts. We know that he has the ability to uncork some things viciously with his knees and stuff like that. If he catches Kamaru Usman and kind of shoot in, it's just that, we haven't seen Kamaru just do that Ben Askren thing where you're going to dive down. Like, typically he's going to bring you up against the cage, wear you down, trip you up. It is tougher for me after watching, I think, all these things. Like, typically when there are fights and there's not a lot of separation between them, we get talked into a lot of things. We get said, new camp, more info, new training partners, all that type of stuff. Some of that stuff turns out to be true. We saw this with Kamaru going to Colorado with Trevor Whitman. It looked like he did get a little bit crisper with his striking, did get better at some things that he didn't have down here. Some of these things are true with Masvidal. This guy looked like a different fighter in 2019 compared to the one that we had seen for, maybe the previous 3 years in his career before that. So I do think guys can make a change. I think we see there's Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor, but there was just a little bit more space between that. The one thing that would worry me if you're a Masvidal fan in this one is just that I do think that Kamaru can get to that path. It's very incumbent upon Masvidal to make sure Kamaru can't make this a boring fight and can't take away opportunities. Like, he's going to have to find a way to keep Usman off of him, especially that pressure of holding him up against the cage, doing the foot stomp that he was made fun of like crazy for, and having that eventually turn into him taking him down, being on top of him and stuff like that. Like, he really has to be elusive in this fight, be faster than he's been in and out, all that type of stuff, and then he's obviously got to watch those kicks too, because that can lead to getting taken down as well. So it's still a fight I can't wait for. I still think, even with all that being said, because Masvidal has the ability to put the lights out, it's intriguing. It's intriguing, and he doesn't need. We even saw with the Damian Maia fight with Masvidal, even before his crazy run, he had some really, really good moments in those pockets where he had to wear Damian Maia like a backpack for a lot of that fight. And even still, I think I think Masvidal does a really good job of that, of making the most of small opportunities in a fight. So it's an intriguing matchup to me either way. The other thing we got 2 more title fights on this card. You got Zhang Weili. She's going to be taking on Rose Namajunas. Fun fight. Can't wait for that. And then you have Valentina Shevchenko getting a challenge of Jessica Andrade going to flyweight. So that's a fun one too. That's a fun card coming up to Jacksonville. I don't know if anybody's going to be making the ride up. I will be. So I hope to see you guys there at the what the hell is it called? The Vi Jacksonville Arena. It's called the Vi something Memorial Arena. All right, so let's get to the other big news this week. The other big news this week was Khabib Nurmagomedov called it a career. Finally. Well, I should really say Dana White finally called it a career of trying to convince Khabib to come out of retirement. Khabib told you he retired months ago. He told you that he was done fighting. And Dana White just wasn't going to take that for an answer, hoping that Conor McGregor could get a win and they could set up themselves a little rematch. But either way, he's done. He's finally, they finally announced it. He's finally, he's going to relinquish the belt, and they have a new championship fight. And I have a problem with it. And it's 2 sides to this, because I'm happy for the guys getting the championship opportunity. I really like them as fighters. So they announced that at UFC 262, which will take place, what is that? Just 3 weeks after the Jacksonville card in Houston, Michael Chandler is going to be taking on Charles Oliveira for the vacant 155-pound championship. And it's a couple things. One, it's a great fight. I'm excited about the fight in itself. So I want to make that clear. I love Michael Chandler. I've liked him since Bellator. That dude was basically the face of Bellator forever. Charles Oliveira definitely has put himself in a position to fight for a championship. He's on an 8-fight win streak. He is finishing people left and right. He's absolutely dangerous. He ragdolled Tony Ferguson. But I'm just at a spot where we have this division that is going to have a Khabib cloud hanging over it anyway. And I got a hard time putting 2 guys in there fighting for a championship when neither one of them is the best lightweight outside of Khabib on the planet. And what I mean by that is the fact that Dustin Poirier's next fight is not going to be for the championship, the vacant championship, is stupid. Okay? He went out there, he kicked the crap out of Dan Hooker. All right? Beat him up after surviving an onslaught early on in that fight, but beat up Dan Hooker after he survived the early onslaught, and destroyed Conor McGregor. Became the first guy ever to stop Conor McGregor with strikes. That's a big deal. I mean, say what you want about Conor McGregor, your opinion of him, all this, that he's washed, he's not the same guy. Fine, but that guy's still an all-time great, a 2-time champion, the first simultaneous champ, and was a guy who knocked Dustin Poirier out inside of a round, and he came back and became the first guy to stop him. His only loss, other than Michael Johnson at lightweight, is to one of the best fighters of all time, maybe the best lightweight of all time, and the fact that he's not fighting for the championship is dumb. And I got some pushback on this on Twitter where people are like, well, he chose the Bucks over the belt. He should have said, no, I want to fight Charles Oliveira. I want to fight Michael Chandler. Well, he already said that he wasn't going to fight Michael Chandler. That he would go sell hot sauce. He said that, made that very clear after the fight. And I got his gripe. Michael Chandler's paid his dues. Okay, he has gone out there and he has been a great fighter and one of the best lightweights in the world for a long time. But I can see where Poirier is coming from. The guy has been Poirier's never been given what Michael Chandler's been given. Michael Chandler walked in there, beat a guy that Poirier just beat, and got handed the golden ticket like he was Willy Wonka, or Willy Wonka gave it to the kid. Whatever. The point is, he was given an opportunity that Poirier's never been given. You know, Poirier has had to scrap and claw and be in the most violent fights against the most violent opponents, be the most entertaining fighter on the planet, and nearly beat Khabib, got him in a guillotine, and his reward for that is, yeah, I mean, you could either fight for the belt or make lots of money. And I just find it odd that we're making a guy like that choose. Why does Poirier have to be in a position where he has to choose money over belts? First of all, you should be making a ton of money. Like, let's be honest. When's the last boring Dustin Poirier fight you've seen? You haven't. Congratulations. You just answered your question. Second of all, people who are coming at me with, you can't give Conor McGregor a title fight off of a loss. Well, yes, you can. Yoel Romero just got a title fight. Yoel Romero got a title fight recently over Israel Adesanya. He came off of a loss of Paulo Costa, and they couldn't come to an agreement, I guess, on Costa, and they ended up giving the title fight to Yoel just because Israel Adesanya wanted it. And Israel Adesanya has been in the UFC for 3 seconds compared to Dustin Poirier. So I just find it weird. And the other thing is, you're telling me Conor McGregor, if he were to win this fight and beat essentially the best lightweight, the best active lightweight on the planet, that's not worthy of a championship? It obviously is. And Dustin Poirier, by all accounts, if you guys would have gone to the point where you would have accepted Khabib's decision in the first place, the last fight would have been for the title. And you absolutely would have given Conor the opportunity to win the belt. And so he got knocked out. Okay, they're 2-2 in this series. That's going to be the big selling point. And this one is for all the marbles. This one is for a championship. And it's no disrespect to Oliveira and Michael Chandler, but neither one of those guys, even after this fight, you're not going to be able to tell me that Michael Chandler, coming off of a stint in Bellator, is going to be able to lay claim to being the best lightweight on the planet after a win over Dan Hooker, who lost to Poirier, and then Charles Oliveira, who's been like in the mainstream eye for like 3 seconds. And I know he's been in the UFC forever, but I mean like as an actual title contender, he's been there for 3, like he is the flavor of the month right now. Right or wrong, he is. And you're going to tell me if Michael Chandler wins that fight, we're going to look at him upon this in the best division the UFC has to offer as the best fighter? I don't know. I go no sale on that. Not without beating Dustin Poirier. And then Oliveira, same thing. Like, we're going to look at Oliveira. If he goes and beats Michael Chandler, great for Oliveira. 9 straight wins. It's a pretty damn good resume. And he's beating a guy in Michael Chandler who, yes, as I said, love watching in Bellator, carried the torch of a promotion forever, definitely deserves the fight fans' respect. But if he goes and beats him as the UFC for the UFC championship, when the guy's been in the UFC for 3 seconds, what are we doing? How are we saying that is a more viable championship fight than the best lightweight on the planet having to go beat a guy in Conor McGregor who, yes, he just beat, but has also knocked him out inside of a round? I get it. You know, nobody wants to feel like they're giving Conor McGregor favorable treatment, but we're going to act like that doesn't happen in the fight game. You know, like that doesn't happen anyway. Why is this the exception? Why is Dustin Poirier getting screwed because now all of a sudden you want to have some moral stand on Conor McGregor not fighting for a championship? It's just weird to me. Like, you would rather have a more unfulfilling championship fight than the chance that Conor McGregor wins a belt that he doesn't deserve to fight for at the time? Sure. But if he beats the guy across the cage from him, then that guy is definitely deserving of being champion. And if Dustin beats him, he beat him twice. He probably should have been the champion anyway. So he would have deserved to fight for the belt. I don't know what Dustin Poirier has to do to just kind of get everything to roll in his direction. Dustin Poirier deserves it all here. Deserves it more than Oliveira. Gaethje, Michael Chandler. He deserves a fight against Conor McGregor for a lot of money, and it should be for the championship.